So I'm going to start with the policy group. I'm going to ask Claudia to give us a flavour of the discussion, the key questions we focused in on, and some of the solutions that we came up with. Claudia, come and stand here next to me so everybody can see you. You're on the spot, and the microphone is yours.
Thank you. I think policy is immediately linked to money. So that's, I think, why we came up with these two questions. And there was somebody of a fund on at the table, and, well, policymakers and different people. So, and with help of Vedu, we decided these two questions who are linked. How do we get good applications at funds? And how can we come past a favorite few? Because a lot of time we see that only a favorite few get the money, and a lot of groups aren't in that. So we saw some barriers, like the language of the bureaucratic system. So a solution was, how do you communicate to the funds? You have to learn a way of communicating. That's the way of the ones who want to applicate.
So marketing then, reaching people. We had two groups looking at marketing, both by the doors.
How do you promote an artist? That's a question. Answer is also very simple. Marketing office. But what this marketing office has to do? Because the artist, he or she, knows the trade. She is in profession, she is busy with her profession, she knows her trade, but they don't have the time to go out and sell their product. That is the biggest problem. Now, how do you sell your product? How do you bring your quality to the attention of the general public? Then we thought there is an easy solution. The solution is like the group which has invited us here today to be together.
Right, let's look at education next, because quite often in Britain at some stage, people thought the answer to the marketing question was the education office rather than the marketing office. But we've moved on from that now. So let's hear, education, which group would like to go first? Ladia?
The first thing that we started off was, how do you educate art? Rather the world of art or Indian art to the people in Netherlands. That was one thing. And very rightly put up as in how do we consolidate the infrastructure of music, dance for education in the Netherlands. And also, another thing that one of my colleagues put up was, how can we realize an intensive exchange of international, rather Indian artists over the world to share knowledge and inspire? So basically it's about taking across the art form to another and to educate about it.
Okay, so so please, make a few jottings, we can feed that back. This group then also had education. Who's feeding back from this group?
It appears as if some of these problems we are discussing are very hypothetical, but I know it's a very concrete, very tangible thing, and we can all contribute, and I've been doing that for several years. I'm not here for marketing, but just to show you one example, hand and voice is, of course, that which holds all the arts together. And the most easy way of communicating and improving the levels is exactly through that. You don't need any other tools, so you use your voice, and Indian arts are, I can say that as a non-Indian, the most conducive to achieving that through non-verbal, non-textual communication, which is your sholkata, your jati, your bolts, etc. And of course the gestures that are used in dance, which I find can be extended very much to musical education also. So gestures, I'm just looking for the one, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. I think the question is not only how do we think about these things and raise problems, but also is there already something that has been done for centuries and this is there.
Share best practice.
Shared practice. It is already there, and all we need is to do it.
So Misha, can I ask you to come and join us and just tell us a little bit about the good practice that you're doing in terms of archiving and advocacy for your mother's long-term art form and your new art form? Please, take the microphone. So Misha, go there and be a good advocate.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm here as a result of being spotted in Caribbean when we were performing by the musician Raj Mohan. And because of that, we're performing at the India Festival tomorrow and day after. And basically my background, I belong to Bihar, India. And I've been learning Bhojpuri folk music and dance from my mother, who is my guru also. When I started doing Bhojpuri, today I see Bhojpuri needs a lot of attention. The original folk sounds which are there, they're about to go extinct because the archival is very minimal in Bihar because of its very, very poor economic conditions. And whatever has been happening, luckily Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan in India have been very, very lucky to get promoted in terms of their own traditional culture, music and all. For us, like Biharis ourselves, it's very difficult to get support from the government. In India also, I'm trying in my all capacity best to reach out to the younger generation. It's very difficult to break into the younger generation because it's a very, very downtown market. But then abroad, outside India, it has a much better perspective because people are coming back to their roots. People are looking for that culture anchor. And when I was doing this, folk sounds, from any part of the world where we belong to different diverse communities here, but then I think they give the basic, they are the most basic form. So I think to survive in this world, I think we need to get back to our basics.
Okay, and now then I'd like to come to the programming group. Maybe we start with this table. Who is your nominated spokesperson? Yeah. And your name is? Hank.
How do we get the artists that they get their work programmed? So not how do we get the programmers to program, but how do we get the artists that they work in a way that they get programmed? Well, that one of the main words that came up were trust and self-confidence. In Dutch, it's vertrouwen and zelfvertrouwen. So you have to create trust with other people, but also still have confidence in your work and reflect that confidence.
Thank you. And you are? Sharon.
Yeah.
There we go. Over to you.
So yes, we were the second table to work on the topic of programming, and well, first off, I'd like to say that, of course, all these subjects are like intertwined. One can, for example, say, well, why worry about programming? If you have something, a product, and you find yourself a good marketeer, then you can focus on that. But anyway, we had this subject of programming. What is very important in programming is the motivation. The motivation, the ideas, the intention of the different stakeholders, because that's also an important part of programming. You have the audiences, you have the artists who also think about the artistic integrity. You have the programmers that work for the theaters, and also the people that give out the funding and the subsidies, which is also an important aspect. You have to deal with the money aspect. The point of different intentions, different ideas, what is your motivation of the different stakeholders? And then we haven't even pointed out the fact that even within a group of stakeholders, there are individual differences because, you know, the artists, they're not all the same. Audiences sometimes do not want to be approached as one group. Oh, you're making culture, especially for us. That's not always appreciated.